Welcome to the Serendipitous Rebel Podcast. I'm Wendy.
And I'm Crystal. This podcast is for the adventure-loving, purpose-driven, action-minded, authentic, and rebellious entrepreneurs.
Just like us. And just like you, we are trying to figure shit out. So join us as we talk about business and life and everything in between. Hello and welcome to a special episode of Serendipitous Rebel. Hi, I'm Wendy.
And I'm Crystal.
Yeah, sorry about that. My brain jumped 10 miles ahead. So sorry about that. So, we recently did an episode on whether now is a good time to become an entrepreneur. And the answer is yes. But one of the things we really didn't necessarily focus on that we wanted to just pick up and just add to it is, what to do in this current state, this current economic state that we find ourselves in. The more we talk to people, the more we hear that there's so much fear out there right now. So we wanted to jump on and just have a conversation about not only becoming an entrepreneur or what to do as an entrepreneur, but also what we see that you can do right now to try to protect yourself, to insulate yourself from an economic downturn. And we're not saying that we're heading into a recession, and it doesn't even mean that this is only relevant for a recession. Hey, we're all battling higher food prices, higher gas prices, though I have to say, gas has come down.
It was $3.99 today.
See, so
down the street and I live in Texas, so it's going to be cheaper for me than everywhere else anyway. But yeah,
the fact that we're cheering about ridiculous, but the thing is that it's just costing more to live right now. So we would just wanted to talk about what can we do during this economic time that we can, try, as I said, try to insulate ourselves, especially where we are with our careers, our jobs, our businesses.
Wendy sent me a Voxer this morning and she said, I think we need to talk about this because like she said, there is a lot of fear out there of a recession or pending recession, or maybe it's going to happen. And there's a lot of doom and gloom out there of, you shouldn't try to sell in this market. Should you try to sell in this market? Should you try to start a business in this market? Should you release an offer in this market? And it's funny because I have less fear in the state of these things than I think a lot of people do. And I'm really fortunate because my husband has a solid job. I tend to look at things long-term. I'm not close to retirement, so I'm not worried about my 401k taking a hit right now because I know I've got plenty of time for it to come back up. But I think there's different, but Wendy and I talked about there's different perspectives to this entire situation that people are looking at. And so we were really thinking about, okay, like Wendy said, what could a business do right now? One, should you sell in this market? And the answer is yes, you can still sell in this market. I really do think that that's true. Should you start an online business in this market? I still believe, yes, you can start an online business in this market. The caveat being, and this is true of all online businesses in a recession or not, you need to have a very solid offer that solves a problem, that is a solution to a problem. And that's really cuts to the core of what you need to do as any kind of business to survive any kind of economic downturn. And so when I think through that, I tend to think about, and that's what Wendy and I are in the business of doing, right? Like we help entrepreneurs be very laser focused with their offering, with their business and things like that. So I tend to think things very like laser focused in that way. But I can understand how some people who maybe are feeling a little bit more ethereal or a little bit less drilled down might be feeling like they're on shaky ground. And I guess my warning would be to not let the external noise and environment take you off of your focus and off of your mission and your goals for your business. Does that make sense?
No, actually, that really very much makes sense. The ability to have to be able to solve someone's problem, and that includes really any job. Even, we speak to a lot of travel advisors.
Mm-hmm.
Even advisors, it's not just and especially when there's an economic downturn, especially when the economy is tough. Travel. People will pivot and travel locally and do different sorts of experiences and adventures because that or travel is one of the first things that goes when the economy when people start to tighten their belts. So but the thing is, if you have a solution to a problem, and travel could be the solution to that problem, even during downturns, women get divorced and feel miserable and need a transition and a celebration, maybe even more so than ever. So why not? Maybe it's not a 10-day trip. Maybe it turns into a 5-day experience,
Mm-hmm.
but nonetheless, it's a solution to a problem. Couples continue to need space or continue to need, especially when things are tough, they need alone time.
Mm-hmm.
They need a solution to a problem. Families need solutions to problems. Friends, we could run the gamut of talking about what the options would be. But so as long as the focus is more solution based, I agree with you. I totally agree with you. That is, well, but I think that's the answer, regardless of whether there's
right,
or not.
Right. I mean, and that's the basis of like what we coach, right? When we work with entrepreneurs and what we coach, we really are drilling into what's the problem and what's the solution, because it tends to get missed.
Yeah.
Now, so one of the other things we had talked about is, what can you do in this time to prepare yourself? And I know, Wendy, you had prepared you had done some research and dug around and really thought this through. Yeah. So what could an entrepreneur do to prepare themselves in a recession?
Well, and I think it goes even beyond an entrepreneur. It could also be, an executive or a person who's working in another job and is thinking about, what if I lose my job? And, what is it that I can do ahead of time, or just, there's always a preemptive strike is a good thing. And so I would say this to everyone, and I will say that these are the things that I did at the beginning of the pandemic. So I can say that, that they work. And the first thing is, audit your skills. Take a good look at both what your hard skills and soft skills are. And I can go through that in a moment. And also see how that really matches up. Take a moment to think about, what am I passionate about? What are my, what lights my fire? What really would get me up in the morning? We talk a lot about purpose, but taking a moment and really thinking about this, and then looking at your skills. I'll mention some skills that are really right now, the hot skills. So it's also making sure that you're staying up to date in your skill sets. Mm-hmm. So for me, I had been talking about coaching specific programs for a long time, for a couple of years. And I just said, now is the time. Now is the time to really hone in on those skills. And so I went through a certification. Also, I pursued other areas of interest to me that really help, again, my skill set. Another thing is make sure that your digital presence is fresh and new, and especially LinkedIn. Especially LinkedIn. It is such a wonderful platform for getting yourself out there, and hey, we're both on LinkedIn. Feel free to, what is it? Following?
Yeah. Connect with us, send us a connection, follow us. The link's in the show notes. I'll make sure that the links are in the show notes.
What is so fabulous about that is you're not only, it's not only you see who you're immediately connected to, you see others and wonderful opportunities to start conversations. And the same goes with that is really try to network with whoever the thought leaders are in your industry. And, and again, LinkedIn is a wonderful resource for conversation and communicating, not to mention whether it's any of the other platforms as well. So, and, I get a lot of requests. I'm part of a military community where we, people serve as mentors. So I do a ton of informational interviews. And again, through a platform like LinkedIn, if there's someone who you'd like to speak with, send them a note. And see if there's a chance that, you can connect with them. And I think that people overall really want to help other people and want to build, it not only makes you feel good, but if you have knowledge or information or any of that, you like to spread it around. Okay. So those are the things. Now, it's interesting when we talk about what are soft skills and hard skills. So hard skills, I think, are much easier. And these are the types of skills that can actually translate pretty well into even a side hustle, or actually into a business. So, for example, time, that's a hard skill. There are courses that you can take, certifications you can receive that, to learn how to not only have time management, but also be able to teach it to others. Project management is another one. If you're a corporate person and you are responsible for managing projects, that translates, even if you don't have certification, which there is one, a PMP, that translates really well into, that is a hard skill. That is a hard skill. And people, especially entrepreneurs, hire, whether they call them project managers or business managers, OBMs, or whatever it is, they hire people, other entrepreneurs in some cases, to help them with this particular skill. Because really, project management is huge. Another is IT automation. If you translates into how do you, using whatever software, hardware is out there, how do you automate things with that? I mean, oh my gosh. Well, all about that.
Yeah, because there's all kinds of programs out there, and we will link a couple in the show notes that we recommend, or courses or programs that we have used, because there are a lot of skills out there. People are hiring consultants at really high rates, because when companies do slash budgets, sometimes they'll slash their main marketing manager budget. So they're hiring what they're calling fractional marketers now, which is just it's basically a fancy name for a consultant. And same thing for tech consultants, business consultants, all kinds of things. And so I love what Wendy said about writing down what are some of the skills that you have, and then where can you beef some of these things up, and what can you do to add to it so that you can rise above the noise as you're applying for these things externally. Because though I did learn a lot in my certification program, I can't say that I didn't, but it's not enough just to have the knowledge. Now I'm a certified master marketer. I have that badge. I have that ability to say that I'm certified. It's just a little bit of a beef of credibility when I do apply for jobs or when I do different things. That does help me charge the fees that I charge, helps me kind of rise above the noise a little bit. When I talk to different things, it adds a bit of credibility and it helps. It also gives you the confidence to show up to those jobs and do what you need to do. And I would imagine your certification program kind of gave you the same thing. It wasn't that it was a 0 to 60 learning curve. There are so many things that you knew. You brought a lot to the table.
Well, exactly. And what I also, and I think I'm parroting something that you have said in the past. It's the really good feeling to know, oh, I already know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's great.
This is awesome.
I mean, I wish I didn't have to spend as much money to find out that I already knew that, but nonetheless. And so that leads me to a really good, I guess, point in all of this, because when you're in this kind of an economic situation, I think you have to be really smart about where you do invest your money and do invest into programs. And there are programs out there, especially in the online entrepreneurial space. They come out every single year, like clockwork. I can know when certain online industry leaders programs are coming out, and you start to see the running of the mill. And I think a lot of people will, say, you can make this big $2,000 investment in my course and it's going to be the answer to all of your prayers. And those make me cringe a little bit, because I think you are so much better off investing either in very intensive coaching programs or very intensive courses are great, but courses that are actually going to teach you how to do the thing. And a lot of courses nowadays give you like a big, vague, big picture overview, because it's very watered down for all industries, which means you probably won't learn much of anything, because you need to be very narrowly focused. You need to know how to do the thing. You need to know how to execute the thing. All the knowledge in the world isn't going to matter. So if you are going to invest in something and continue in education to beef up those skills, make sure it's a program. And again, we're going to link out to some of our favorite, more credible sources, that it's going to give you a certificate. It's going to give you actual skills, something that you're going to walk away with, that you're going to be able to apply right away in the real world, not a program that's going to leave you with more questions than answers, and more like, I've got this really great idea, but I don't know how to execute it. So I would say be wary of that. And then just be really intentional about how you're going to spend your money and how you're going to do things. I think it's a really great opportunity for a lot of entrepreneurs to simplify what they're doing in the world, because I think when money is flowing, we tend to sign up for all the things, and then we're on these auto pay churns that aren't really yielding any results. And I'm like raising my hand because I totally just cleaned up a bunch of those dumb things recently as we were auditing our expenses. So I was like, oh, why do we have that? I don't even use that anymore. So now is a great time to take a look at those things. And it's an opportunity to simplify what you're doing on the back end as well, because I think we tend to overcomplicate the system a little bit. And now is a great time to simplify and maybe get rid of all the noise and tactics that we're investing in to really narrow down our focus and how we do things. And I'm speaking more from a marketing angle because I'm the marketer, but I think that's true of a lot of things that we're doing that you can do. In fact, our bookkeeper actually just told us, why are you paying this much money for QuickBooks when I've got this other great program? It's more complicated than what you actually need. And this other program is free and does everything that you need because you guys have a very simple business model. And I was like, oh, well, yeah, that's great. Let's do that.
I totally agree. And I didn't raise my hand, but I laughed when you talked about all the auto pay things. It's just crazy. And Yeah. And I think that the one thing that it's to really try to keep, this is so hard because the trigger when you're fearful is to usually, oh my God, please don't let anything happen. Please, please. And it becomes sometimes a little irrational is a word that comes to mind, that it's like you almost curl up in cocoon, which is not what you need to do at these moments. And it's really, it's keeping a growth mindset, which I know is not easy. And it's not only doing that, it's actually translating that into action. And it's hard. There's no question. It's hard. And I was thinking, I have a really good exercise about, and what this really is leaving your comfort zone. And I have a really good exercise that was in my Savor Guide, which I will pop up into the Rebel on the Go Facebook group for anyone who is interested. But really, it's how do you get from being afraid and transitioning that, it's fear, it's the comfort, and how do you then get into a growth mindset at a time when it can be challenging. But I think it is really a good time. And the interesting thing is, I think it was Entrepreneur magazine that put out a list of what they consider like the soft skills right now. And, what does that mean? It's that you want to be adaptable. You want to be creative. You want to be able to multitask. Well, anyway, that's a whole other conversation. Because you really can only do one thing at one time.
There's no such thing as multitasking, but
exactly. You can pivot every 5 minutes, but anyway, that's a whole other thing. But critical thinking, leadership, collaboration, attention to detail, all of these are imperatives, whether you're an entrepreneur or really for any job that you do. But it's really hard when you're in the fight or flight mode, when you're in that fear zone, to actually be able to activate these soft skills that you need at the time. So yeah, it's kind of like, it's okay. It can be a rock and a hard place, but we're saying that you can be in a growth mindset in this current environment, and you can build a career, a business, build yourself as an entrepreneur during these times. It's just really focusing on, for yourself, being open and also providing solutions for really, if you work for a company, you actually have to provide solutions either for the customers or for the management.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So it's just about having those solid foundations in your business. It's a great opportunity for you to audit your business, take a look about where you can trim and where you can cut. But I would be very leery when people say, "Oh, now is the time to take the gas off take your foot off the gas and ease up and slow down and don't sell." I see a lot of that on TikTok and on social media right now. And it's interesting because the people I really respect in business are saying the exact opposite, or saying exactly what we're saying here today, because I think that when you're an entrepreneur, you are one of two things. You are of a growth mindset, which means you can look at the opportunities where you can, or you're not, in which case you're probably not going to be an entrepreneur for very long, recession or no recession. So you have to be able to look at the landscape. You have to be able to pivot. It might be like what Wendy and I did. Wendy and I were travel agents and then had to do major pivots in 2020 due to a pandemic. And it's our ability to, one, let go of this identity around our job or around our title and take a look again. That's exactly what we did. We took a look at the skills that we had. We took a look at what we enjoyed. We took a look at what our priorities were, about what our purpose was, what our values are, and then said, okay, does that translate into beating my head up against a wall in one industry that's not serving me at this time? And, there were a lot of friends of ours that were travel agents that said, yes, this is exactly where I want to be. I don't want to be anywhere else. To which we said, then you should stay where you are and keep going. Mm-hmm. But that wasn't the answer that we came to. And so we took a pivot. So, an economic downturn or recession might be an excellent opportunity for you to make a pivot if you are feeling unhappy wherever you are, if you're feeling unsettled or unfulfilled. This might be exactly the opportunity you have been looking for.
Yeah. And just to add, the beauty of pivoting doesn't necessarily mean, we went, at first we individually made the decision that, our travel businesses we weren't doing that anymore. But even thinking about it, my initial thought had actually been more about what can I do to add to it? What can I do to make an internal pivot that didn't require shutting the doors down completely or something along those lines, which in the case of coaching. And I think, for me, coaching was where my passion lies. So that is the direction that I was going in anyway. The pandemic just sort of
mm-hmm.
things around.
Yeah.
But so there may actually be even smaller things that are still in line with what you currently do that you can add to weatherproof your business or recession proof your business, that mm-hmm. sort of. So pivots can come in all sorts of shapes and sizes, and it could be something that can be changed in a short period of time and doesn't require a lot of months of introspection. It really depends on what you're looking for. But I just wanted to add that little piece. Sorry.
No, that's a perfect piece. And I actually think it's a perfect place to end it, because I don't know if I could say or add anything that's more brilliant than that in this moment.
It's so funny. I think this is like the end of the week or the beginning of the week when this actually goes live. But so anyway, maybe it's time to go grab a virtual margarita or something.
Or a real one. I think it's time for a real one. It's been a week, y'all. It's been a week.
Yeah. Yes. Well, on that note, thank you all for joining us. And again, we'd love to continue the conversation in Rebel on the Go, and we'll drop the link. I keep thinking below. I believe it's below or to the right or to the left, maybe.
However your podcast player is set up, but the link will be in the show notes, as well as we will link out to some of our favorite certification programs and some of our favorite, course areas, things like that, where you can really beef up some of these skills that we were talking about. And we'll be back to our regular scheduled programming on Mondays. Until then, guys, have a great day.
Bye. Thanks for listening. Be sure to subscribe and leave us a rating.
But only if you liked it. Otherwise, just keep it to yourself.
You can learn more about our upcoming masterminding opportunities on our website at serendipitousrebel.com.
And if you have topics you'd like to hear about, be sure to submit them on our website or DM us on social media.
Hey, see you next week. Bye.